Tony T from Tony'sPicks.com with our free college football pick show here for Saturday, November 23rd. We'll have picks from all 56 games. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And if you're looking for my best bets, my premium plays, click that link in the description. That'll take you to my page here at Tony'sPicks.com. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, a like. We greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get it started. SMU and Virginia here. SMU now 9-1 after their 38-28 home victory at Boston College. The Mustangs gained 438 yards, 140 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 417 yards to the Eagles with 180 rushing for 4.2 yards a carry. Kevin Jennings here, 24-35 passing for 298 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Virginia now 5-5 with their 35-14 road defeat at Notre Dame. The Cavs put up 300 yards, 128 rushing for 4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 448 yards in the game with 234 rushing for 6.2 yards a carry. Anthony Calandria, 8 of 21 passing for 69 yards and 3 picks. Virginia has defended well at home by allowing 3.7 yards per rush, 64% completion rate, and 24 points a game. They passed for the ball well, nearly 270 yards per game, 7.6 yards per pass attempt. The Cavs have covered 6 of 7. 3 of the 4 road games for SMU have resulted in 1 possession wins. Virginia 3-0 the spread at home as an underdog of 7.5 to 14 points. Pick here will be on Virginia plus the 9.5. All right, next up we have Sam Houston State and Jacksonville State. All right, we've got Sam Houston State now 8-2 after their 23-17 road win at Kennesaw State. The Bearcats gained 382 yards, 203 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. On defense, they held also 243 yards with 137 passing on 24 attempts. Hunter Watson, 22 of 32 passing for 179 yards with a pick. He rushed for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jacksonville State now 7-3. A 34-31 home win to FIU. The Gamecocks put up 445 yards, 234 rushing for 5 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 431 yards to the Panthers, 258 passing yards on 34 attempts. Tyler Huff, 15 of 28 passing for 211 yards and a touchdown. He rushed for 76 yards and a score. Sam Houston has defended well against Conference USA by allowing 15 points per game with 3.1 yards per rush, 5.6 yards per pass attempt. The Bearcats are a high-volume rushing team that averages 4.5 yards a carry in conference. Jacksonville State in their past 3 conference games allowing 197 yards rushing for 4.3 yards per rush, along with 8.3 yards per pass attempt. In this period, they're completing just half of their passes. Bearcats 6-3 to the spread as a underdog. Pick here will be on Sam Houston State here at +6. All right, next up we got Wake Forest and Miami, Florida. Wake Forest is 4-6 after their 31-24 road defeat to North Carolina. The Demon Deacons gained 354 yards, 114 rushing for 3.6 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 362 yards to the Tar Heels with 230 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. Hank Bachmeier, 10 of 14 passing for 68 yards. Miami now 9-1, a 28-23 road defeat at Georgia Tech. The Hurricanes put up 436 yards, 88 rushing for 3.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 370 yards to the Yellow Jackets with 271 rushing for 5.6 yards a carry. Cam Ward, 25 of 39 passing for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wake Forest has struggled offensively on the road as they rushed for 3.7 yards a carry with poor quarterback accuracy. They have defended well on the road by allowing 3.6 yards per rush, 6.2 yards per pass attempt. Miami has good offensive numbers against the conference. They are holding ACC teams at 55% completion rate. Demon Deacons 8-2 the under on the road on grass fields. Pick here will be Wake Forest and Miami under 64.5. All right, next up, North Carolina and Boston College for Saturday's game. North Carolina now 6-4 after their 31-24 home victory to Wake Forest. The Tar Heels gained 362 yards, 230 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 354 yards to the Demon Deacons, with 114 rushing for 3.6 yards a carry. Jacoby Griswold, 14 of 22 passing for 132 yards with a touchdown. He rushed for a touchdown in the game. Boston College 5-5, a 38-28 road defeat at SMU. The Eagles gained 417 yards, 180 rushing for 4.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 438 yards to the Mustangs with 298 passing yards on 35 attempts. Grayson James, 18 of 32 passing for 237 yards with a touchdown and pick. He rushed for a score in the game. BC was defended well at home by allowing 3 yards per rush, 61% completion rate, and 20 points a game. In ACC play, they averaged 4.3 yards per rush with 7.1 yards per pass attempt. North Carolina in their road games rushed for 4 yards a carry with 61% completion rate. Tar Heels 2-4 to the spread as road favorite. BC 5-3 to the spread as home underdog. Pick here will be on Boston College plus 3.5. All right, next up we have Ole Miss and Florida here for Saturday. Ole Miss now 8-2 with a 28-10 home victory to Georgia. The Rebels gained 397 yards, 134 rushing for 3.7 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 245 yards to the Bulldogs with 59 yards rushing on 33 carries. Jackson Dart, 13 of 22 passing for 199 yards with a touchdown and pick. He rushed for 50 yards in the game. Florida now 5-5 with a 27-16 home victory to LSU. The Gators put up 339 yards with 113 rushing for 6.6 yards per rush. Defensively, they allowed 392 yards to the Tigers with 262 passing yards on 48 attempts. DJ Lagway, 13 of 26 passing for 226 yards and a touchdown. Ole Miss in their past 3 games has allowed 70% completion rate with 8.1 yards per pass attempt. They rushed for only 3 yards a carry in this period. Florida at home puts up 330 points per game with 63% completion rate, 10.4 yards per pass attempt. Their defense at home limits foes to 3.7 yards per rush, 59% completion rate. They covered 6 of 7. The Rebels are 2-4 to the spread on the road against offenses that average 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Florida 5-3 to the spread as a home underdog. Pick here will be Florida at plus 10. All right, UConn and Syracuse college football pick Saturday. We've got UConn now 7-3 with their 31-23 road win at UAB. The Huskies gained 365 yards, 189 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 403 yards to the Blazers with 170 rushing for 5.2 yards a carry. Nick Evers, questionable with a leg injury. He completed 15 of 24 passes for 104 yards on a pick. Joe Fagnano relieved, going 5 of 12 passing for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fagnano is a senior who has seen action in 7 games this year. Syracuse 7-3 with their 33-25 road win at Cal. The Orange put up 471 yards, 148 rushing for 3.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 397 yards to the Golden Bears with 166 rushing for 7.2 yards a carry. Kyle McCord here, 29 of 46 passing for 323 yards with a touchdown. You know, Fagnano was a transfer last year who lost his starting job to Evers. He was ineffective before getting a shoulder injury last year. The Huskies' offense has struggled on the road this year, 4.3 yards per rush with just 49% completions. Defensively, on the road, they're giving up 294 yards passing with 7.2 yards per pass attempt. The Orange offense in their past 3 games put up 41 points per game, 375 yards passing for 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Pick here will be on Syracuse plus 10.5. Iowa and Maryland in college football pick Saturday. Iowa fell to 6-4 after their 20-17 road win at UCLA. The Hawkeyes gained 265 yards, 80 rushing for 2.6 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 415 yards to the Bruins with 211 rushing for 5.5 yards a carry. Cade McNamara expected to start. McNamara completed 60% of his passes this year for 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Maryland drops a 4-6, a 31-17 home defeat to Rutgers. The Terrapins put up 457 yards, 122 rushing for 4.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 370 yards to the Scarlet Knights with 238 passing yards on 30 attempts. Billy Edwards, 32 of 55 passing for 335 yards with a touchdown and pick. Iowa has struggled on the road, put up 18.8 points per game with inaccuracy at the quarterback position. Defensively on the road, the Hawkeyes allow 5 yards per rush, 68% completion rate. Maryland's defense at home holds teams at 3.1 yards a carry, 58% completion rate. The Terrapins are passing for nearly 300 yards per game against a conference. Pick here will be on Maryland here at +7. All right, next up we got Indiana and Ohio State. Indiana 10-0 with their 20-15 home victory to Michigan. The Hoosiers gained 246 yards, 40 rushing on 28 carries. Defensively, they held the Wolverines at 206 yards with 137 passing yards on 32 attempts. Curtis Rourke, 17 of 28 passing for 206 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Ohio State 9-1, a 31-7 road win at Northwestern. The Buckeyes put up 420 yards, 173 rushing for 5.2 yards a carry. Defensively, they limited the Wildcats at 251 yards with 50 rushing on 30 attempts. Will Howard, 15 of 24 passing for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. Indiana on the road rushes for 4.1 yards a carry. They get efficient quarterback play with 73% completion rate for 10 yards per pass attempt. On defense on the road, they limit foes to 1.9 yards per attempt. The Buckeyes' numbers offensively and defensively in conference have been good. The Buckeyes have played to one-possession outcomes against Penn State, Nebraska, and Oregon. The rest of the opponents were weaker teams here. Pick here, Indiana +13. All right, we got Illinois and Rutgers for Saturday. Illinois 7-3 after their 38-16 home victory to Michigan State. The final Illini gained 369 yards, 136 rushing for 4.5 yards per run. On defense, they allowed 345 yards. The Spartans with 87 rushing for 3.1 yards a carry. Luke Altmaier, 19-32 passing for 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rutgers 6-4, a 31-17 road win at Maryland. The Scarlet Knights gained 470 yards, 132 rushing for 3.6 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 457 yards to the Terrapins with 335 passing on 57 attempts. Ethan Kalamanis, 20-30 passing for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. Final Illini in their road games have struggled offensively with 15.7 points per game, 3.2 yards per rush. Their pass defense has been poor away from home, allowing 70% completions for 8.7 yards per pass attempt. Scarlet Knights in their past 3 games throwing for 264 yards, 7.2 yards per pass attempt. Rutgers 7-4, the spread is home favorite. Pick here will be Rutgers here at -1. On Saturday, UMass fell to 2-8 after their 35-34 home defeat to Liberty. The Minutemen gained 426 yards, 263 rushing for 5.6 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 423 yards to the Flames with 309 rushing yards for 6.4 yards a carry. Ahmad Hassan, he rushed for 62, rushed for 62 yards and a touchdown with no pass attempts here. They've been rotating 2 quarterbacks with the injury to their starter here, so they kind of use a wildcat there. Georgia improved to 8-2, a 31-17 home victory to Tennessee. Bulldogs put up 453 yards, 106 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 319 yards in the game with 167 passing on 33 attempts. Minutemen are going with the passing backup and a wildcat formation backup. Just can't imagine Minutemen scoring more than a field goal here against the Bulldogs. We'll expect the Bulldogs to keep it on the ground, shorten the game, huge lead in the second half. Bulldogs 6-3 to the under as home favorite of 31 or greater points. Play UMass and Georgia under 55.5. All right, next up we've got Western Kentucky and Liberty for Saturday. Western Kentucky 7-3 after their 12-7 home defeat to Louisiana Tech. The Hilltoppers put up 215 yards, 63 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 275 yards to the Bulldogs with 209 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. Caden Veltkamp, 18-26 passing for 152 yards. Liberty 7-2, a 35-34 road win at UMass. The Flames gained 423 yards, 309 rushing for 6.3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 426 yards to the Minutemen with 263 rushing for 5.6 yards a carry. Caden Salter, 9 of 16 passing for 114 yards and a pick. He rushed for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. WKU on the road has struggled with their run game and defense. They rushed for just 3.2 yards a carry and surrendered 5 yards per rush, 9.3 yards per pass attempt. Liberty against the conference has defended well, allowing 22 points per game. They have been balanced against Conference USA with 5.6 yards per rush, 7.7 yards per pass attempt. The Flames 3-1 in the spread at home against winning teams. Pick here will be Liberty here at -1. All right, next up we got UTEP and Tennessee. Here, UTEP now 2-8 after their 43-35 home victory to Kennesaw State. The Miners gained 453 yards, 120 rushing for 2.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 300 yards to the Owls, 117 rushing for 2.8 yards a carry. Skylar Locklear here, 20-33 passing for 327 yards with 4 touchdowns. Tennessee now 8-2, a 31-17 road defeat to Georgia. The Volunteers put up 319 yards, 152 rushing for 3.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 453 yards to the Bulldogs with 347 passing on 40 attempts. Nico Iamaleava, 20 of 33 passing for 167 yards. Tennessee pounded teams in non-conference, outscoring 3 opponents by 191-13. The strength of their offensive defensive lines will be too much here. They have averaged 64 points per game in their 3 non-conference games. Pick here, Tennessee minus the 42. All right, next up we got Bowling Green and Ball State for Saturday. Bowling Green now 6-4 after their 31-13 home victory to Western Michigan. The Falcons gained 402 yards, 226 rushing for 6.8 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 292 yards to the Broncos with 97 rushing for 2.7 yards per rush. Connor Bazelak, 15-22 passing for 176 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushed for a touchdown in the game. Ball State drops to 7-3, a 51-48 road defeat at Buffalo. The Cardinals posted 520 yards, 193 rushing for 5.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 470 yards to the Bulls, 206 rushing for 5 yards a carry. Kaden Simonza, 25-37 passing for 327 yards with 4 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 53 yards in the game. Bowling Green has defended well in the MAC games, allowing 16 points per game. Their offense works on the road, 4.6 yards per rush, 7.1 yards per pass attempt. Ball State has struggled defensively in conference, allowing 36 points per game, 5.4 yards per rush, 7.9 yards per pass attempt. They're putting up 34 points a game in conference with 273 yards passing per game, 7.7 yards per pass attempt. Bowling Green 7-3 to the over on the road following a home game. Pick Bowling Green and Ball State over 57. Next up, we got Rice and UAB here for Saturday. Rice 3-7 after their 27-20 road defeat to Memphis. The Owls gained 367 yards, 121 rushing for 5.3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 366 yards to the Tigers with 207 rushing for 5 yards a carry. E.J. Warner, 29-45 passing for 246 yards with 2 touchdowns. UAB now 2-8, a 53-18 road defeat at Memphis. The Blazers put up 352 yards with 28 rushing yards on 20 carries. On defense, they allowed 526 yards to the Tigers with 299 yards passing yards on 34 attempts. Jacob Zeno, again, questionable with that shoulder injury. He's missed the past 6 games. Jalen Kinnahan, 27-43 for 253 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. Rice has struggled in their road games, put up 12 points a game. Their quarterback play has just been poor on the road. Of course, they let go of their coach as well. UAB at home rushed for 4.9 yards a carry, averaging 7.3 yards per pass attempt. They've defended the pass well at home. The Owls at -8 turnover margin. The Owls are 0-2 the spread as a road favorite. UAB 2-0 the spread facing teams with this 250-400 win rate. So these down teams have been able to cover here. Pick here UAB plus the 6.5. All right, next up we got James Madison here and App State. James Madison 8-2 after a 35-32 road win at Old Dominion. The Dukes gained 425 yards on them with a 233 rushing for 4.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 363 yards to the Monarchs, 174 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. Alonzo Barnett here, 18 of 26 passing, 192 yards and a touchdown. He rushed for 70 yards and 2 scores. App State, 4-5, a 38-24 road defeat at Coastal Carolina. Mountaineers posted 376 yards in the game, 150 rushing for 3.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 353 yards to the Chanticleers, with 203 rushing for 5 yards a carry. Joey Aguilar, 17 of 31 passing for 226 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. James Madison has defended well in conference in the run and pass, give up 18 points a game. Their passing game on offense has not been efficient in the Sun Belt. App State issues with accurate quarterback play in the conference, only 55% completions. Then you're facing Sun Belt defenses. App State 3-0 at home to the under against teams that averaged 4.75 yards per carry or greater. JMU has gone under in 5 of 6 behind great defensive play. Pick here, James Madison, App State under 60.5. New Mexico State and Middle Tennessee State here for Saturday. All right, New Mexico State 2-8, a 38-3 road defeat at Texas A&M. Mexico State gained 214 yards, 122 rushing for 3.2 yards a carry. Offensively, they allowed 565 yards to the Aggies with 356 yards passing on 43 attempts. Santina Marucci, 6 of 19 passing for 80 yards. Middle Tennessee State drops to 3-7, a 37-17 home defeat to Liberty. The Blue Raiders gained 351 yards, 88 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 500 yards to the Flames with 339 rushing for 6.8 yards per rush. Nicholas Fatiato, 22 of 33 passes for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Blue Raiders defense has been very poor against Conference USA, allowing 5.5 yards per rush, 8.5 yards per pass step. They've struggled with the running attack in conference. Aggies' run game in good form over the past 3 games, nearly 5 yards a carry. New Mexico State 4-1 to the spread on the road, facing teams that allow 4.7 yards per rush or greater. Blue Raiders 6-10 to the spread at home. Pick here, New Mexico State plus 3.5. I got Charlotte and FAU here for Saturday's action. Charlotte 3-7 after their 59-29 home defeat to USF. The 49ers gained 347 yards, 91 rushing for 2.6 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 551 yards to the Bulls with 8.9 yards per rush. Deshaun Purdy here, 17 of 39 passing for 256 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. FAU now 2-8, 18-15 road defeat at Temple. The FAU Owls posted 317 yards, 123 rushing for 4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 348 yards to Temple, 130 rushing for 3.3 yards a carry. Tariq Starks here, 8 of 13 passing for 71 yards. You know, Charlotte offense has been poor on the road with 3.7 yards per rush and completing just over half their passes. They have struggled with both running and passing defense on the road. FAU in their home games rushed for 4.9 yards a carry, 7.9 yards per pass attempt. The Owls' pass defense has been very good at home, holding opponents a 53% completion rate. Pick here, FAU plus 3. All right, next up we got FIU and Kennesaw State. FIU 3-7 with their 34-31 road defeat to Jacksonville State. The Panthers gained 431 yards, 173 rushing for 5.1 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 345 yards to the Gamecocks with 234 rushing for 5 yards a carry. Kenyon Jenkins, 21 of 34 passing for 258 yards with 2 touchdowns. Kennesaw State drops to 1-9, a 23-17 home defeat to Sam Houston State. The Owls produced 243 yards, 106 rushing for 3 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 381 yards to the Bearcats with 203 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. Davis Bryson, 16 of 24 passing for 137 yards with a touchdown and a pick. FIU has been able to average 7.8 yards per pass attempt in their Conference USA games. It has been a struggle for the Panthers to defend on the road, where they allow 33 points per game. The Owls have defended poor against conference foes, allowing 33 points per game. They're putting up 22 points per game in their past 3. Pick here, FIU and Kennesaw over 44. All right, we got Arizona and TCU here for Saturday. Arizona now 4-6 after their 27-3 home victory to Houston. The Wildcats put up 337 yards, 113 rushing for 3.1 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 326 yards to the Cougars with 135 rushing for 4 yards a carry. Noah Fafita, 20-35 passing for 224 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. TCU now 6-4, a 38-13 home victory to Oklahoma State. The Horned Frogs put up 468 yards, 175 rushing for 6.3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 368 yards to the Cowboys, 135 rushing for 3.8 yards per rush. Josh Hoover, 26-35 passing for 286 yards with a touchdown. The Horned Frogs in their past 3 games allowing 28 points per game. Their offensive numbers have been good in this period. The Wildcats have been able to move the football through the air in the Big 12 with 246 yards per game. Arizona 3-0 to the spread as a road underdog of 7.5 to 14 points. The Horned Frogs have failed to cover a 7 of 10 and are just 1-4 to the spread at home. Pick here Arizona plus the 12. All right, we got South Alabama and Southern Miss here. South Alabama 5-5, a 24-22 road win at Louisiana. The Jaguars produced 353 yards, 68 rushing for 2.3 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 393 yards to the Raging Cajuns with 276 yards passing on 30 attempts. Gio Lopez, huge game here, 24-34 passing for 285 yards and an interception. He rushed for 2 touchdowns. Southern Miss 1-9. It's all coming apart here. A 58-3 road defeat to Texas State. The Golden Eagles gained 194 yards, 124 rush for 2.5 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 703 yards to the Bobcats with 437 passing yards on 34 attempts. Ethan Crawford, 3 of 5 passing for 7 yards. Bowl eligibility with the win for the Jaguars here. Southern Miss, horrible form over their past 3 games, giving up 42 points a game, allowing 6 yards per run, 10 yards per pass step. Their offensive numbers are also bad in this period. 2.8 yards a carry, just 35% completion rate. My goodness. South Alabama, member, put up 87 points on an FCS team this year. Pick here South Alabama minus 22. All right, next up we got UL Monroe and Arkansas State here. UL Monroe 5-5, a 48-14 road defeat to Auburn. The Warhawks gained 218 yards, 64 rushing for 1.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 507 yards to the Tigers with 304 passing yards on 37 attempts. Aiden Armenta, 8 of 15 passing for 89 yards. Arkansas State now 6-4, a 27-20 road win at Georgia State. The Redwolves put up 358 yards, 261 rushing for 5.3 yards per rush. On defense, they allowed 411 yards to the Panthers with 346 passing yards on 49 attempts. Jalen Raynor, 10 of 17 passing for 97 yards. He rushed for 114 yards in the game. The Warhawks are a win away from bowl eligibility. They have run the ball effectively against a conference, averaging 7.3 yards per pass attempt as well. UL Monroe has been strong defending the pass against the conference, allowing just 49% completions. The Red Wolves form over the past 3 games pretty poor right now, giving up 35 points a game, 5.5 yards a carry, and 317 yards passing per game for 8.3 yards per pass attempt. The Warhawks 5-1 of the spread on the road against winning teams. Pick here will be on UL Monroe at +3. Georgia Southern and Coastal Carolina. Georgia Southern now 6-4 after their 28-20 home defeat to Troy. The Eagles gained 246 yards, 75 rushing for 3.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 421 yards to the Trojans with 288 passing yards on 32 attempts. J.C. French here, 17-28 passing for 171 yards with an interception. Coastal Carolina now 5-5, a 31-19 road loss at Marshall. The Chanticleers put up 391 yards, 124 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. Defensively, they held the Thundering Herd to 244 yards, 35 rushing on 32 attempts. Ethan Vasco, 21 of 39 passing for 267 yards with a touchdown and pick. Georgia Southern defensive form poor in their past 3 games by allowing 35 points, 5 yards per rush, and 76% completion rate, and allowing also 9.5 yards per pass attempt. The Chanticleer's offensive numbers have been good at home. They're holding opposing quarterbacks to just over 60% completions at home. Georgia Southern 1-5 the spread on the road following a home game. Coastal Carolina 4-1 to the spread. As home favorite, pick here will be Coastal Carolina here at -2.5. All right, next up we have UCF and West Virginia. UCF drops here to 4-6, a 35-31 road defeat at Arizona State. The Knights gained 406 yards, 177 rushing for 4.8 yards a carry. On defense, they held the Sun Devils to 260 yards, 99 rushing for 3.1 yards a carry. Down risk, 24-34 pass for 229 yards and a pick. West Virginia 5-5, a 49-35 home defeat to Baylor. The Mountaineers gained 499 yards, 262 rushing yards for 5.3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 512 yards to the Bears with 329 passing yards on 36 attempts. Garrett Green, 19 of 39 passing for 237 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bad weather could be in the forecast here with rain. UCF has lost 3 straight on the road. They have allowed 35 points or greater in 3 of their 4 Big 12 games. Mountaineers have rushed and been efficient in the passing game at home. They limit Big 12 teams to 3.9 yards per rush. The Mountaineers are only 1 win away from bowl eligibility here. Pick here will be on West Virginia here, +3. All right, next up we've got Colorado and Kansas here for action on Saturday. Colorado 8-2 after their 49-24 home victory at Utah. The Buffs gained 405 yards, 65 rushing for 3.3 yards a carry. On defense, they held the Utes at 272 yards, 31 rushing on 30 carries. Shadar Sanders 30-41 passing for 340 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Kansas 4-6 with their 17-13 road win at BYU. The Jayhawks gained 242 yards, 73 rushing for 2.2 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 354 yards to the Cougars with 162 rushing for 4.8 yards a carry. Jalen Daniels, 12 of 19 passing for 169 yards and a pick. Kansas must win their final 2 games to become bowl eligible. The Buffs have been one-dimensional offensively with the run game being weak. Kansas offensively in their past 3 games put up 3 points per game behind an efficient passing game that averages 9.1 yards per pass attempt. The Jayhawks have covered 4 straight. They've come off back-to-back home wins to Iowa State and Houston, averaging 43 points per game. Pick here will be on Kansas State, +2.5. All right, next up we got Tulsa and USF here. Tulsa 3-7 after their 38-31 home defeat to East Carolina. The Golden Hurricane gained 399 yards, 106 rushed for 2.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 536 yards to the Pirates with 314 passing on 37 attempts. Cooper Legas, 20 of 32 passing for 293 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. USF now 5-5, a 59-24 road win at Charlotte. The Bulls gained 551 yards, 425 rushing for 8.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 347 yards to the 49ers with 91 rushing for 2.6 yards a carry. Byron Brown has missed 5 straight games due to injury. Practiced this week. Bryce Archie played through an injury and victory. Third stringer Israel Carter took some snaps last week, rushed for 3 times. He's thrown just 1 pass in 2 seasons. Tulsa's defense in horrible form over their past 3 games, allowing 47 points a game. USF offensive form good in this period as they're averaging 37 points per game with 7 yards per rush. Their pass defense has been strong in this 3-game span, allowing 49% completion rate. The Golden Hurricane 1-6 to the spread on the road against the AAC. Pick here will be USF, -17.5. All right, next up we got Wisconsin and Nebraska here for Saturday's game. Wisconsin here, they drop here to 5-5 after their 16-13 home defeat to Oregon. The Badgers gained 226 yards, 130 rushing for 3.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 344 yards to the Ducks with 136 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. Braden Locke here, 12 of 28 passing for 96 yards with a touchdown and pick. Nebraska moved to 5-5 with their 28-20 road defeat to USC. The Cornhuskers put up 310 yards, 119 rushing for 4.8 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 441 yards to the Trojans, 182 rushing for 5.7 yards a carry. Dylan Raiola, 27 of 38 passing for 191 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. The Badgers' defense in poor form in their past 3 games by allowing 29 points along with 4.9 yards per rush, 75% completion rate. The Cornhuskers in this period have been poor in defending the pass by allowing 72% completions, 9.2 yards per pass attempt. Wisconsin 4-1, the over as a underdog. Pick here will be Wisconsin, Nebraska over the total of 42.5. All right, we got next up here Penn State and Minnesota here. Penn State now 9-1 with their 49-10 road at Purdue. The Nittany Lions gained 539 yards, 234 rushing for 6.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 302 yards to the Boilermakers with 85 rushing for 3 yards per carry. Drew Lar here, 17-19 passes for 247 yards with 3 touchdowns. Minnesota 6-4 with their 26-19 road defeat at Rutgers. The Golden Gophers gained 297 yards with 35 rushing for 1.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 349 yards to the Scarlet Knights with 109 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Max Brosmer, 27 of 45 passing for 260 yards and a touchdown. Minnesota has defended well at home, holding opponents to 15 points per game. They're strong pass defenders at home where they've been efficient offensively in the passing game. Golden Gophers have covered 8 of 10. Pick here in Minnesota, plus 11.5. All right, next up we have Northwestern and Michigan. Northwestern 4-6 after their 31-7 home defeat to Ohio State. The Wildcats gained 251 yards, 50 rushing for 1.7 yards a carry. On defense, they surrendered 420 yards to the Buckeyes with 247 passing yards on 24 attempts. Jack Lausch, 21 of 35 passing for 201 yards. He rushed for a touchdown in the game. Michigan drops to 5-5, a 20-15 road defeat in Indiana. The Wolverines put up 206 yards, 59 rushing for 1 yards per rush. Basically, they allowed 246 yards to the Hoosiers with 40 rushing yards on 28 carries. Davis Warren, 16 of 32 passing for 137 yards. Northwestern's offense has been very poor in their road games. They rushed for 3.5 yards a carry, 5.8 yards per pass attempt. The Wildcats' defense is wearing down over their past 3 games, allowing 30 points per game, 4.5 yards per rush. Michigan has run effectively in conference and defend well. They are 5-1 of the spread at home following a road game. Pick here will be Michigan, minus 10.5. All right, we got San Diego State and Utah State for Saturday's game. San Diego State 3-7 after their 41-20 road defeat to UNLV. The Aztecs gained 270 yards, 107 rushing for 3.1 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 513 yards to the Rebels with 253 rushing yards for 5.4 yards a carry. Daniel O'Neal, 13-22 passing for 162 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. He had a rushing touchdown in the game. Utah State 3-7 with their 55-10 home win to Hawaii. The Aggies posted 580 yards, 321 rush for 7.4 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 309 yards to the Warriors with 262 passing yards on 36 attempts. Spencer Petras, 20 of 30 passing for 255 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. In conference, the Aggies have defended poorly, surrendering 39 points per game. Opponents rushed for 5.7 yards a carry against them in the Mountain West, along with 8.7 yards per pass attempt. The Aggies have failed to cover 5 of 7. The Aztecs have covered 8 of 11 against the Mountain West on the road. Pick here San Diego State plus the 4. All right, we got BYU and Arizona. BYU now 9-1 after their 17-13 home defeat to Kansas. The Cougars put up 354 yards with 162 rushing for 8.1 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 242 yards to Jayhawks with 73 rushing yards for 2.2 yards a carry. Jake Razlaf, 18-28 passing for 192 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Arizona State now 8-2, a 24-14 road win at Kansas State. The Sun Devils put up 398 yards, 123 rushing for 3.2 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 412 yards to the Wildcats with 153 rushing for 6.2 yards a carry. Sam Levitt, 21-34 passing for 275 yards with 3 touchdowns. He rushed for 42 yards in the game. The Cougars' defense has been outstanding on the road, holding teams to 20 points per game with 3.8 yards per rush, only 51% completions allowed. They put up 32 points per game against the Big 12, behind 4.9 yards a carry, and very efficient quarterback play. ASU defense in their past 3 games, allowing 4.8 yards per rush. Pick here BYU at plus 3. All right, we got Stanford in California. The big game here for Saturday. Stanford improved here to 3-7, 38-35 home victory to Louisville. The Cardinal gained 416 yards, 83 rushing for 2.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 412 yards to the Cardinals with 162 rushing yards for 6.2 yards a carry. Ashton Daniels, 22-33 passing for 298 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Cal now 5-5, a 33-25 home defeat to Syracuse. The Golden Bears put up 391 yards, 166 rushing for 7.2 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 471 yards to the Orange with 323 passing yards on 46 attempts. Fernando Mendoza, 22-34 passing for 225 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. Stanford has been very poor in their road games, allowing 43 points with 5.4 yards per rush, 272 yards passing, 8.9 yards per pass attempt. Golden Bears have run for 4.5 yards a carry, an efficient passing game as well. We're looking here at Stanford 2-6 as a spread on the road, facing teams that average 250 yards passing per game or greater. Golden Bears 3-1 the spread at home against poor defensive teams, allowing 5.9 yards per play or greater. Pick here will be on Cal minus 14. All right, next up we got Kentucky and Texas. Kentucky now 4-6 after their 48-6 home win to Murray State, an FCS school. Now prior to that FBS opponent in Tennessee, they lose 28-18. Wildcats in that game gained 360 yards, 168 rushing for 4.5 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 477 yards to the Volunteers with 292 passing yards on 38 attempts. Brock Vandegrift, 12-19 passing for 183 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Texas 9-1, a 20-10 road win at Arkansas. The Longhorns posted 316 yards, 139 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 231 yards to the Razorbacks, 82 rushing for 2.4 yards a carry. Quinn Ewers, 20-32 passing for 176 yards with 2 touchdowns. Kentucky offense has performed poorly in their road games as they rush for 3.4 yards a carry and complete half their passes. On the road, they surrendered 31 points per game with 10.4 yards per pass attempt. Longhorns offense and defense has put up great numbers as they outscored opponents by 31. They are 4-1 in the spread at home when they're favored by 10.5 to 21 points. Pick here Texas minus 20.5. All right, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State college football pick Saturday. All right, Texas Tech 6-4 with their 41-27 home defeat to Colorado. The Red Raiders put up 388 yards, 113 rushing for 2.5 yards a carry. Behren Morton, 24-40 passing for 275 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Oklahoma State now 3-7, a 38-13 road defeat to TCU. The Cowboys gained 368 yards, 135 rushing for 3.8 yards a carry. Offensively, they allowed 468 yards to the Horned Frogs with 293 passing yards on 37 attempts. Alan Bowman, 19-29 passing for 141 yards with a touchdown and pick. The Red Raiders in their past 3 games allowing 33 points per game with 311 yards passing for 8.2 yards per pass attempt. Oklahoma State defense in poor form in this period, allowing 39 points per game with 6.5 yards per rush and 9.5 yards per pass attempt. The Cowboys 4-2 the over at home, facing teams that average 425 yards per game or greater. Pick here will be Texas Tech and Oklahoma State here at over 67. This is Tony T here from Tony'sPicks.com with our free college football pick show here, Week 13, Part 4. We'll have 9 more games for you here on Saturday. We'll have this done by Friday night. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And if you're looking for my best bets, my pre and plays, click that link in the description. That'll take you to my page here at Tony'sPicks.com. All right, let's get it started here with this show. We start with East Carolina and North Texas. East Carolina now 6-4 after their 38-31 road win at Tulsa. The Pirates gained 536 yards, 222 rushing for 5.3 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 399 yards to the Golden Hurricanes with 293 passing on 33 attempts. Kane Hauser, 24 of 37 passing for 314 yards with a touchdown and 3 picks. North Texas fell to 5-5. A 48-27 road defeat at UTSA. The Mean Green put up 480 yards, 239 rushing for 9.6 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 681 yards to the Roadrunners with 379 passing on 43 attempts. Chandler Morris, 21 of 36 passes for 241 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. ECU on the road getting inaccurate quarterback play. Their pass defense on the road allows 8.1 yards per pass attempt. The Mean Green has defended the pass at home well by allowing a 52% completion rate for 5.7 yards per pass attempt. East Carolina 1-3 to the spread on the road, facing teams that average 31 points per game or greater. North Texas 8-3 to the spread at home against the AAC. Pick here will be North Texas set -2.5. All right, next up we have Pittsburgh and Louisville college football pick here for Saturday. Pittsburgh fell to 7-3 after their 24-20 home defeat to Clemson. The Panthers gained 438 yards, 88 rushing for 2.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 346 yards to the Tigers, 58 rushing for 2.1 yards a carry. Eli Holstein missed the game due to a concussion and is questionable here. Nate Yarnold completed 24 of 54 passes for 350 yards with a touchdown and pick. Louisville drops a 6-4, a 38-35 road defeat at Stanford. The Cardinals gained 406 yards, 83 rushing for 2.2 yards a carry. Tyler Shaw, 26 of 39 passing for 270 yards with a touchdown and pick. Pittsburgh quarterback situation a concern here in this road spot. The Panthers' offensive form poor as in their past 3 games, allowing 3.3 yards per rush, 5.8 yards per pass attempt. They've struggled in pass defense over this period. Louisville's offense works at home as they put up 43 points a game, 5.8 yards per rush, 9.2 yards per pass attempt. They defend the run well at home. Pittsburgh 1-6 to the spread as a road underdog. Louisville 11-3 to the spread as a home favorite here. The pick here will be Louisville -8. All right, next up we have Louisiana Tech and Arkansas for action on Saturday. We got Louisiana Tech here 4-6 after their 12-7 road win at Western Kentucky. The Bulldogs gained 277 yards, 209 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 215 yards to the Hilltoppers with 63 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Evan Bullock, 12 of 15 passing for 66 yards. Arkansas fell to 5-5, a 20-10 home defeat to Texas. The Razorbacks put up 231 yards, 82 rushing for 1.3 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 316 yards to the Longhorns with 139 rushing for 3.4 yards per rush. Halen Green here, 17 of 25 passing for 149 yards and a pick. Louisiana Tech on the road averages 15 points per game as they rush for 3.2 yards per rush and average 5.9 yards per pass attempt. The Razorbacks offense in good form. Look at their past 3 games, put up 33 points a game, running for nearly 5.5 yards per carry, and passing for 10.1 yards per pass attempt. Pick here, Arkansas minus 22. Next up, we got Missouri and Mississippi State. Missouri now 7-3 after their 34-30 road defeat at South Carolina. The Tigers gained 381 yards, 144 rushing for 3.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 462 yards to the Gamecocks with 353 passing on 30 attempts. Brady Cook here, 21-31 passing for 237 yards with a touchdown and pick. Mississippi State 2-8, a 33-14 road defeat at Tennessee. The Bulldogs put up 271 yards, 179 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 452 yards to the Volunteers with 240 rushing yards for 4.2 yards a carry. Michael Van Buren, 10 of 26 passing for 92 yards and a pick. Missouri has issues on the road. The pass defense has been poor. They give up 68% completions for 9.6 yards per pass attempt. Opposing teams running for over 5 yards a carry against them away. The Tigers are getting inaccurate passing on the road. Bulldogs put up 33 points per game at home and are efficient in their passing game. They've covered 5 of 6. Pick here in Mississippi State here at plus 7.5. All right, next up we have Troy and Louisiana. Troy now 3-7 with a 28-20 road win at Georgia Southern. The Trojans gained 441 yards, 153 rushing for 3.7 yards a carry. On defense, they held the Eagles to 246 yards with 75 rushing for 3.8 yards a carry. Matthew Caldwell, 26-32 passing for 288 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushed for two scores himself. Louisiana now 8-2 after a 24-22 home defeat to South Alabama. The Raging Cajuns posted 410 yards, 137 rushing for 3.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 353 yards to the Jaguars with 285 passing on 34 attempts. Chandler Fields, 14-17 passing for 185 yards with a touchdown. He rushed for 28 yards and a score. The Trojans rushed for only 3.1 yards a carry on the road. They surrendered 31 points per game on the road, and they allow 5.2 yards per rush, 69% completion rate. Louisiana offense has been very good against the Sun Belt with 32 points per game, 5 yards per rush, 9 yards per pass attempt. They have defended the run and pass well against the Sun Belt. The play here will be on Louisiana minus 10. We got Georgia State and Texas State college football pick here for Saturday. Georgia State fell to 2-8 with a 27-20 home defeat to Arkansas State. The Panthers gained 411 yards, 65 rushing for 2.8 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 358 yards to the Red Wolves with 261 rushing for 5.3 yards a carry. Zach Gibson is questionable with a leg injury and left the game. Christian Velo, 17-35 passing for 245 yards with a touchdown and pick. He has seen a significant action this season, completing 57% of his passes for 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Texas State 6-4, a 58-3 home victory to Southern Miss. The Bobcats gained 703 yards, 266 rushing for 8.3 yards per carry. On defense, they held the Golden Eagles to 194 yards with 70 passing yards on 20 attempts. Jordan McLeod, 23 of 28 passing for 335 yards with 4 touchdowns and a pick. Georgia State, in their past 3 games, has been able to move the football through the air with 275 yards passing per game. They have held opponents in this period to 65 yards per pass attempt, 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Bobcats have split their past 4 games and have a -3 turnover margin at home. The Bobcats 1-4 of the spread at home against losing teams. Pick here Georgia State at plus the points. Got Baylor and Houston college football pick here for Saturday. All right, here we go. Baylor improved to 6-4 with their 49-35 road win at West Virginia. The Bears put up 512 yards, 183 rushing for 5.4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 499 yards to the Mountaineers with 262 rushing yards for 5.3 yards a carry. Sawyer Robertson, 26 for 36 passing for 329 yards with 3 touchdowns. Houston now 4-6, a 27-3 road defeat to Arizona. The Cougars put up 326 yards, 135 rushing for 4 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 337 yards to the Wildcats with 224 passing yards on 35 attempts. Zian Chris here, 16 of 27 passing for 191 yards with an interception. He rushed for 55 yards. Baylor defense has struggled on the road, allowing 35 points per game and 7.2 yards per pass attempt. Quarterback accuracy has been an issue for the Bears on the road, 60% completion rate. The Cougars have defended well at home, holding teams to 17 points a game and only 5.5 yards per pass attempt. The Cougars 5-3 to the spread as home underdog. Pick here will be on Houston +8. Boise State and Wyoming college football pick Saturday. Boise State 9-1 after their 42-21 road win to San Jose State. The Broncos gained 446 yards, 170 rushing for 4.1 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 483 yards to the Spartans with 446 passing yards on 50 attempts. Madison, 22 of 30 passed for 286 yards with a touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown in the game. Wyoming fell to 2-8. A 24-10 road defeat to Colorado State. The Cowboys put up 237 yards, 117 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 446 yards to the Rams with 248 rushing yards for 5.6 yards a carry. Caden Anderson, 13 of 30 passing for 120 yards and he rushed for a touchdown. Wyoming offense has shown improvement as in their past 3 games, put up 28 points per game, 5.3 yards per run, 7.3 yards per pass attempt. But their running defense has been poor, giving up over their past 3 games nearly 8 yards a carry. The Broncos put up 41 points per game against the Mountain West. They are 8-1 in the over on the road when lying between 56.5 and 63 points. Wyoming here, 6-3 the over as a home underdog. Listen, Gentry will run wild in this game. Pick here will be on Boise State and Wyoming over 56.5. All right, we got Washington State and Oregon State for Saturday. Washington State fell to 8-2 after their 38-35 road defeat to Mexico. The Cougars put up 547 yards, 172 rushing for 5.5 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 7.3 yards per rush in the game. John Mateer, 25 of 36 passes for 375 yards and 4 touchdowns. He rushed for 65 yards and a score. Oregon State fell to 4-6, a 28-0 road defeat at Air Force. Beavers put up just 175 yards, 69 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 409 yards to the Falcons with 270 rushing yards for 4.1 yards a carry. Ben Gould-Bronson missed last week's game with an injury, questionable here. Gabari Johnson saw most of the work last week, 9 of 19 passing, 106 yards and a pick. Oregon State quarterback situation, a massive concern here. In their past 3 games, they're averaging just 6.7 points a game. Running game produces just 3.2 yards a carry over this period with inaccurate quarterback play. Washington State passing offense has been efficient on the road, 8.1 yards per pass attempt. Pick here will be on Washington State, -12.5. Marshall and Old Dominion, free college football pick here for Saturday. Marshall now 7-3 after their 31-19 home victory to Coastal Carolina. The Thundering Herd put up 254 yards, 35 rushing on 32 attempts. On defense, they allowed 391 yards to Chanticleers with 124 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. Braylon Braxton, 20-31 passing for 219 yards with 3 touchdowns. Old Dominion fell at 4-6. A 35-32 home defeat to James Madison. The Monarchs put up 363 yards, 174 rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 425 yards to Dukes with 233 rushing yards for 4.9 yards a carry. Colton Joseph, 9 of 21 passing for 189 yards and a pick. He rushed for 3 touchdowns. Marshall has struggled in the passing game in their road games where they have averaged 22 points a game. The Monarchs' offensive form good as in their past 3 games, running for 5.2 yards a carry and passing for 275 yards for 9.6 yards per pass attempt. Marshall 0-3 of the spread on the road as underdog of 7 or fewer points. Pick here will be Old Dominion, -2.5. Iowa State and Utah, free college football pick for Saturday. Iowa State 8-2 with their 34-17 home victory to Cincinnati. The Cyclones gained 386 yards, 152 rushing for 4.5 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 353 yards to the Bearcats with 66 passing yards on 18 attempts. Rocco Becht, 24-33 passes for 234 yards and a touchdown. He rushed for 48 yards in the game and a score. Utah fell to 4-6, a 49-24 road defeat in Colorado. The Utes put up 272 yards, 31 rushing on 30 attempts. On defense, they allowed 405 yards to the Buffs with 340 passing yards on 41 attempts. Isaac Wilson, 21 of 40 passing for 236 yards with 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. Utah must win out to become bowl eligible. The Cyclones defense has struggled during their past 3 games, allowing 28 points per game, 5.5 yards per rush, 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Their passing game has performed well in this period as they're putting up 31 points a game. Utah defense has struggled as well, allowing 29 points per game over that period of time of 3 games, 7.1 yards per pass attempt. The pick here will be on Iowa State and Utah over 42.5. Texas A&M and Auburn college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Texas A&M improved to 8-2 with their 38-3 home win at New Mexico State. The Texas A&M Aggies put up 565 yards, 209 rushing for 6.1 yards to carry. On defense, they allowed 221 yards to New Mexico State, 92 passing on 23 attempts. Marcel Reed, 20 of 31 passing for 268 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 41 yards and a touchdown in the game. Auburn now 4-6, a 48-14 home victory at UL Monroe. The Tigers put up 507 yards, 203 rushing for 5.3 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 218 yards to the Warhawks with 64 rushing for 1.8 yards a carry. Peyton Thorne, 22 of 32 passing for 286 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Tigers have struggled offensively in the SEC as they're putting up 16 points per game. Texas A&M has put up 27 points per game on the road with efficiency in the passing game and running for 4.3 yards a carry. Auburn has self-destructed a -11 turnover margin. They are 0-4 to the spread at home, facing teams that average 200 yards rushing or greater. Play here will be Texas A&M here at -2.5. Notre Dame and Army, free college football pick for Saturday. Game to play neutral site here. Army now 9-0 after their 14-3 road win at North Texas. The Black Knights gained 308 yards, 293 rushing for 4.6 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 283 yards to the Mean Green with 69 rushing yards for 3.8 yards a carry. Bryson Daly returned from injury under center, hit 2 of 4 passes for 15 yards and an interception. He rushed for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. Notre Dame now 9-1 after their 35-14 home victory to Virginia. The Fine Irish put up 448 yards, 234 rushing for 6.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 300 yards to the Cavaliers with 172 passing yards on 36 attempts. Riley Leonard, 22 of 33 passing for 214 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Notre Dame has been dominating teams in their past 3 games. They're averaging 46 points per game, 6.4 yards per rush, and efficient passing. In this period, they're holding opponents at 10.3 points per game with only 45% completion rate. Army has played a relatively weak schedule. Pick here Notre Dame, -14. Alabama and Oklahoma college football pick Saturday. Alabama now 8-2 with a 52-7 home victory to FCS Mercer. Prior to that, it was a 42-13 road win at LSU. The Crimson Tide in that game gained 420 yards, 311 rushing for 6.5 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 343 yards to the Tigers with 104 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. Jalen Monroe, 11 of 16 passing for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 43 yards and a score. Oklahoma fell to 5-5, a 30-23 road defeat at Missouri. The Sooners put up 257 yards, 122 rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 278 yards to the Tigers with 135 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Jackson Arnold, 15-24 passing for 74 yards. He rushed for 45 yards in the game. Sooners defense in their past 3 games are holding opponents at 2.9 yards per rush, 59% completion rate. They have been good getting off the field at home on third down. The Crimson Tide pass defense and conference allowing 240 yards passing, 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Our Alabama 1-4 to the spread on the road when favored between 7.5 and 14 points. Play here Oklahoma +14. Vanderbilt and LSU college football pick Saturday. Vanderbilt 6-4 with their 28-7 home defeat to South Carolina. The Commodores gained 274 yards, 108 rushing for 3.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 452 yards to the Gamecocks with 214 rushing for 5 yards a carry. Diego Pavia, 16-31 passing for 166 yards. He rushed for 65 yards and a touchdown. LSU now 6-4, a 27-16 road defeat at Florida. The Tigers put up 392 yards, 130 rushing for 3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 339 yards to the Gators with 226 passing yards on 26 attempts. Gary Nussmeier, 27 of 47 passing for 260 yards with a touchdown. A night game in LSU will make this a difficult spot for the Commodores, who are already bowl eligible, facing a Tigers team on a 2-game losing streak. Vanderbilt's offense in poor form over the past 3 games, averaging 16 points a game, 3.2 yards per run, 49% completion rate. The pass defense has been very poor in this period. LSU at home runs for 4.8 yards a carry and gets efficient quarterback play. The Tigers 9-3 of the spread as a home favorite. Pick here LSU minus 7.5. Virginia Tech and Duke college football pick Saturday. Virginia Tech 5-5 after their 24-14 home defeat to Clemson. The Hokies put up 228 yards, 40 rushing for 1.9 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 378 yards to the Tigers with 167 rushing yards for 3.6 yards a carry. Kyron Drones questionable with an injury and is reportedly not practiced. Colin Schlee completed 7 of 17 passes for 73 yards with a touchdown and pick. Accuracy has been an issue with Schlee the past 2 seasons. Duke improved to 7-3 after their 29-19 road win at NC State. The Blue Devils put up 286 yards, 31 rushing on 27 carries. On defense, they held the Wolfpack to 268 yards with 84 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Malik Murphy, 22 of 31 passing for 245 yards with 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown as well in there. The Hokies quarterback situation a concern with Schlee. 2 straight losses for the Hokies. Virginia Tech's offense in their past 3 games were rushing for 3.8 yards a carry, 55% completion rate. Blue Devils defense has performed well at home, allowing 3.6 yards per rush, 53% completion rate. Virginia Tech 2-4 the spread on the road, facing a team with a 600 to 750 win percentage. Duke 9-1 the spread at home against the ACC. Pick here Duke +3. Cincinnati and Kansas State college football pick Saturday. Cincinnati fell to 5-5 with their 34-17 road defeat to Iowa State. The Bearcats gained 353 yards, 287 rushing for 7.4 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 386 yards to the Cyclones with 152 rushing for 4.5 yards a carry. Brendan Sorsby completed 10 of 18 passes for 66 yards. He rushed for 141 yards and a touchdown. Kansas State now 7-3 after a 24-14 home defeat to Arizona State. The Wildcats put up 412 yards, 154 rushing for 6.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 398 yards to the Sun Devils with 275 passing yards on 34 attempts. Avery Johnson here, 24 of 40 for 258 yards, 2 picks. He had a rushing touchdown. Cincinnati is 1 away from bowl eligibility. The Wildcats' offense in poor form as in their past 3 games, averaging 21 points a game with struggles with accuracy at the quarterback position. In this period, the pass defense allows 66% completion rate for 7.7 yards per pass attempt. The Bearcats are getting accurate and efficient quarterback play. In the conference, play here will be Cincinnati +9.5. Air Force and Nevada college football pick Saturday. Air Force now 3-7 after a 20-0 home victory to Oregon State. The Falcons gained 409 yards, 270 rushing for 4.1 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 175 yards to the Beavers with 69 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Quentin Hayes, 5 of 5 passing for 110 yards. He rushed for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nevada now 3-8, a 28-21 road defeat at Boise State. The Wolfpack put up 319 yards, 87 rushing for 2.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 393 yards to the Broncos with 274 rushing yards for 5.8 yards a carry. Brendan Lewis, 17 of 26 passes for 108 yards and a touchdown. He rushed for a score there. Since the quarterback change to Hayes, the Falcons have been more effective offensively. They've covered 3 straight. The Wolfpack have lost 4 straight, including home defeats at Colorado State and Fresno State. Nevada offense in poor form over their past 3 games, put up 18 points a game, 3.8 yards per rush. Defensively, they're allowing 229 yards rushing with 5.5 yards per carry in this span of 3 games. Air Force defensively in the past 3, allowing 16 points a game. Nevada 1-8 to the spread at home against the conference play here. Air Force +3. USC and UCLA college football pick Saturday. USC 5-5 after a 28-20 home win in Nebraska. The Trojans gained 441 yards, 182 rushing for 5.7 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 310 yards to the Cornhuskers with 191 passing on 38 attempts. Jaden Mavia, 25 of 35 passing for 259 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 20 yards and a touchdown. UCLA fell to 4-6, a 31-19 road defeat to Washington. The Bruins gained 319 yards, 52 rushing for 1.6 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 305 yards to the Huskies with 123 rushing for 4.1 yards a carry. Ethan Garber's 27 of 44 passing for 267 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Trojans' offense has struggled on the road, producing just 23 points per game with inefficient play in the passing game. Defensively, they allow 72% completion rate for 7.1 yards per pass attempt on the road. The Bruins have won 3 of 4, including a home win to Iowa. Their defense has played well in their past 3 games, allowing 23 points per game, 3.2 yards per rush, and 58% completion rate. USC 2-9 of the spread is road favorite. Pick here UCLA plus 4.5. Colorado State and Fresno State college football pick Saturday. Colorado State now 7-3 after their 24-10 home win to Wyoming. The Rams gained 446 yards, 248 rushing for 5.6 yards a carry. On defense, they held the Cowboys to 237 yards with 120 passing on 30 attempts. Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, 14 of 17 passing for 192 yards and a touchdown. Fresno State sits at 4-4 with their 28-26 road defeat of Air Force. The Bulldogs posted 294 yards, 5 rushing on 12 carries. Defensively, they allowed 358 yards to the Falcons with 344 rushing for 4.3 yards a carry. Mikey Keene, 23 of 26 passing for 289 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Rain is in the forecast for this game with light wind. The Bulldogs in their past 3 games have struggled with the run game by averaging 1.9 yards per rush. They have defended well in this period as they're allowing 47% completion rate. Passing has been an issue in this weather here. It's been raining here the past 2 days. The Rams have run effectively in the conference, held Mountain West opponents of 14.8 points per game. Pick here Colorado State and Fresno State under 45.5. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And if you're looking for my best bets, my premium plays, click that link in the description. That'll take you to my page here at Tony'sPicks.com. And if you like this video, give us a like and a thumbs up. It really helps our channel. I'm Tony T. We'll talk with you guys later.